I knew it. I fucking knew it. I posted my encounter from when I was 13, thinking it was okay. And see me now. It happened again, and my roommate saw it too. It's been 4 or 5 years since my last encounter, and like not even one since I posted about it. And I think I'm safe, right? Wrong. I moved last year, and I recently thought, hey, remember those kids a few years ago? Funny, they can't get you now. Well, boy, was I fucking wrong. I live on a mountain and like an hour away from the beach in a super populated neighborhood with my roommates. 2 chill lesbians and a gay college dude. Super cool people. I think nothing can hurt me now because there are people everywhere. But no, I'm stupid and I jinx myself. I was home 2 days ago and class was canceled, and the dude of the house was home too, taking a nap. I'm in the kitchen watching Netflix and doing homework when there's a knock on the window. Obviously, this was weird as hell, but I have weird as hell friends too. Maybe one of them are trying to scare me. So I brush it off and continue what I was doing. But then it happens again. And once again, I brush it off because maybe it was the snow if it wasn't my friends. Things like this happen all the time with them. Well, it goes on for like 10 minutes, and now I'm kinda starting to freak out. My friends don't have this much patience. I go to Charlie's room and wake him up. I'm not the one that's usually riled up, so he's concerned too. We both go to the window. I have my phone out with a camera and 911 within a touch, and Charlie has a bat. We look out the window and no one's there. After a minute, we calm down and go and sit in the living room. Charlie's mom is a cop, so he says he'll tell her about it later. We think we're okay, so we chill and start watching TV together. And 30 goddamn minutes later, the doorbell rings. I go and open the door, and at first, I don't see anything. Then down on the bottom of the stairs of the apartment, I see 3 young boys dressed in black hoodies, jeans, and brown or black bangs. At first, I didn't move. I was frozen in place. Then Charlie asked who it was, and I came to my senses and got a good look at the kids, then slammed the door shut behind me. I started bawling, and I mean sobbing. I don't know what to do. Charlie is freaking out because I don't cry. He ran to the door with the bat we have on the windowsill and looked outside. He saw them too. He started freaking out because he didn't know what to do, so he started yelling at them to leave. He said they started smiling. I was crying even more now, and he was screaming, and I think the neighbors wanted to call the cops. Now think about this. He didn't know what they were. He thought they were just normal kids that had scared me, and he didn't see their eyes yet. I start yelling at him to get inside when I hear a bunch of footsteps running up the stairs, and Charlie screams and runs inside. He's telling me he saw their eyes and that they were black, and now we're both freaking out and grabbing kitchen knives. Eventually, we calm down and look outside again. No one's there, but we can see a group of kids pass the complex with 3 that we think are the black-eyed kids. I told him about the other thing that happened to me, and now we're scared to be in this house. We told the other roommates, and they thought we were just high on something. So once again, no one believes me. Sorry if this is all over the place. This happened like 3 days ago, and I've been on edge ever since. Does anyone know why they'd come back?
Black-Eyed Kids in Virginia Beach, Virginia, by Kitchen Armadillo. It's 11:30 at night in the middle of June, and I'm in my house alone with my dog. I was reading a Reddit post about Black-Eyed Kids. I was pretty shook already. I've heard rumors that if you know about them, they come and visit you. I was sitting on my living room couch when I heard 2 knocks at the front door. My dog immediately hopped up on the couch with me and started trembling. I got startled and hesitantly walked to the front door. My door has 2 slim windows on each side of it, so I looked out through the right window and saw 2 kids. One looked really small, like he was 5, and the other kid looked at least 9. They were both wearing winter clothes. Keep in mind that it's the middle of June. I tried to look at their faces, but my porch light wasn't working for some reason. They were just staring at the door. I was staring at them for at least 20 seconds when they both look at me through the window on the door. I run back to my couch and try to be as quiet as I can and don't make any noise. I hear 2 knocks again and hear,
"Sir, please let us in. Me and my brother are very hungry and tired."
I just about scream because I have no idea how they know I am a man. I waited 10 seconds, then I hear,
"Let us in. We have to call our mom."
I waited about a minute, and I hear pounding on my window, and one of the kids say,
"Let us in."
in a demanding manner. It has been at least 2 minutes, and I think they are gone until I hear my sliding door. I run upstairs and lock myself in my bedroom with my dog. They kept pounding for at least a half hour. The pounding stopped, and I put headphones on and tried to sleep through it when they come back. I never saw them since.
I'm a male, 18, a college student from Delaware. A few weeks ago, I'd say around August 2nd, I was sitting in my car in my driveway listening to music. It was around midnight, and I live kind of in the middle of nowhere, and I was also very high. While I'm sitting in my car with my eyes closed, I start getting this feeling that I'm being watched. I look to my right, and I see a figure staring through my car window. It then darts away and then comes back to my window extraordinarily fast. It looked to be about 5'4"-ish, Caucasian. The figure was wearing a hood, and I got a really minuscule glimpse of its eyes, and I'm 75% sure they were completely black eyes. I know driving under the influence is really bad, and I would have never done it if I thought there was another option. But what else was I gonna do? Without hesitation, I threw my car in reverse and stepped on the gas. I heard bumping and banging against the right side of my car, and I could have sworn I felt bumping under my tires and stuff. I 100% thought that I ran over someone in my driveway, and I went to my friend's house, which was about 2 minutes away from mine, and I waited an hour in their driveway. After, I drove back to my house. There was nobody there, nothing on the ground, no signs of anything that had just happened. Anytime I told my friends, they all think I was overreacting or hallucinating or something. But I know something happened that night. The feeling and sounds of bumping and banging against my car windows and doors, and the bumps under the tires. I remember this all too well for it to be fake. I no longer sit in my driveway at all, even during the day, and even now, I'm terrified to be there at night. I'm reading further into this subreddit, and I'm seeing a lot of people talking about how people develop medical conditions after their encounters. After this, within the span of about 3 months, I lost 10 pounds. My diet had not changed and nothing was wrong with me, but I started showing symptoms of autoimmune disorders or nutritional deficiencies or hyperthyroidism. It's been about a week into September, and my body is basically back to normal. I've never posted on here, and I'm definitely a frequent reader, but never have I made my own post. This time, though, I think I should share. Some backstory. My mom and I are both firm believers in all things paranormal. We know the stories of black-eyed children very well. 2 kids with no emotion and black shadowy faces asking to come inside to use the phone, grab something to eat, or even to ask you for just simple help. But if you help, bad things will happen. We are believers, but of course, we never thought either of us would actually encounter something like this. On Friday night, my mom got home late from work. There was a meeting about her work staying open during quarantine, so she didn't get to our house until around, I think about 7:30 or so. After pulling up in front of our house, she noticed a kid walking down our street. Now, my neighborhood doesn't really have younger kids at all, mainly just us teenagers. So my mom found this kid walking kind of strange. She even says to my dad, who is on the phone with her, and he jokes about the kid jumping on her car to scare her. You know, the typical dad trying to be funny, sorta. Then just as fast as he was in front of her and moving to her, he was gone down the road and around the corner. 20 minutes go by before my mom hangs up the phone and steps outside of the car. From behind her, she hears a very childlike, "Excuse me." After dropping her purse and screaming, she looks to the kid, who she notices it's the same boy who had disappeared around the corner almost half an hour before. Immediately, she told us she had this overwhelming feeling of pure fear through her entire body. She stares this boy down and notes that she can't see his face at all because of his hood and the shadows from the street lamp behind him. And he has no shoes. It's 8 p.m. on a Friday night after a stay-at-home order was just put out, and there was a little boy running around barefoot in just shorts and a hoodie. It was like he was trying to dress like a regular person, but just barely missed the mark. This boy, with his head down, asked my mom if she had seen another little boy and that he couldn't find him anywhere, meaning he was one of a pair. My mom, who has 3 kids and is one of the most genuinely kind people I know, had no urge whatsoever to help this child in front of her or had any kind of sympathy for this situation. She just felt wrong, like there was something off and she needed to leave. In her head, her only thought was that she needed to run up our porch steps and get inside. However, what came out of her mouth was completely different. She tells this little boy, "No, I haven't, honey. Where did you lose him? I can help you look." Every part of her was telling her to leave and that this was wrong, but she offered to help. It's like the children knew she thought something was off, though, because right at that second, another boy in the distance screamed. Of course, my mom jumped and her fear spiked, but the boy was eerily calm. He looked at her and in a monotone voice said, "Oh, there he is," turned in the opposite direction and ran up our street, then turned left, which was the wrong way of where the voice came.
Demon Kid in the Middle of the Day by Coon Avenger. Told this story for the first time, but in the comments, I wanted to post it. This happened to me in high school, 2003, in West Texas. Been meaning to post it for a while since I started watching those Ask Reddit YouTube vids. I was ditching school with my buddies and smoking a blunt. It was the middle of the day and hot as fuck in Odessa, Texas. We stopped at a stop sign at a cross street that had an alley directly across from us. In the alley, we see a little blonde-haired kid, maybe 10 to 12 years old, come blasting out of one of the house's back gates. This town has alleyways behind the houses where the dumpsters are. He was running towards us, frantically, like he was scared as shit. You could see terror in his eyes, which I thought maybe his parents were abusing him. As we were turning left, he stops at the end of the alley with his hands on his knees, heavily panting, looking at the ground. My buddy pulled to the end of the alley and I rolled down my window and said, "Hey, are you okay, bud?" He then looked straight at me with black eyes, his demeanor totally different. He stands up straight off of his knees, no longer out of breath or scared, and smiles at us with his mouth full of razor-sharp looking teeth and points right at me. I yell to my friend, "Fucking go." As we speed off, the kid's gaze follows us, still pointing till we are out of sight. And we start screaming at each other. "What the fuck? What the fuck was that? Did you see that too?" I never heard of black-eyed kids, and found out years later when I remembered what happened, and I decided to Google it. I asked my friend through Facebook a year ago if he remembered the black-eyed kid. He said he did, but he doesn't believe in that stuff anymore. I don't know how he could explain it, other than a creepy little demon fucker. I mean, how are we going to share the same hallucination?
In 2015, I worked in a job that needed me to start at 6 a.m. So every morning, I was up at 4 a.m. and I would call the taxi service at 5:15. The taxi usually arrived within 15 minutes. So one morning, I was waiting for the taxi to arrive. It arrived at roughly 5:25 and I made my way downstairs and outside. As I walked towards the taxi, even though it was relatively dark, being winter, I could see at the end of my street, which was only a few feet from the taxi, there was a teenage boy wearing a hoodie with a hood over his head, standing with his back to me. I didn't find it too strange, since the road he was facing at the end of my street is a main road, so I just thought he was waiting on a friend or something to give him a ride home, or waiting on a bus maybe. I got into my taxi and told the driver where I was going as I put my seatbelt on. I don't know why, but I felt the urge to glance out of the back window. A weird feeling went through me when I saw the teenager now standing only a couple of feet away from the back of my taxi, facing it and staring at me. He still had his hood up. Thank goodness the taxi driver had started to drive away. because everything about this teenager's body language gave off really bad vibes. It made me feel a little queasy as he just stood there with his arms by his side, but what looked like clenched fist, just staring until my taxi drove out of the street. I didn't bother asking the taxi driver if he noticed the boy, as I didn't want to seem like a mental case. Now, I realize that this might just seem like I probably encountered just a weird, typical teenager, and for a long time, that's what I thought too. But there was something odd about the encounter, and I still can't shake it off till this day. It was the weird feeling of complete fear, because I felt so silly to feel such fear when inside the safety of a car moving away from the boy. I can't even really explain it properly. Anyway, fast forward to July 2019. It was 10 p.m., and me, my mother, and brother were sitting watching TV when out of the blue we heard a knock at the door. It was 3 knocks, not too loud, but not too quiet either, just loud enough for us to hear. We looked at each other confused, as we weren't expecting anyone, and we never have anyone come to our door at the time of night. So to us, this was very odd. Also, we don't have a doorbell, but we have a letterbox on our door, so it wasn't unusual for people to usually tap the letterbox. A knock at the door felt strange to us. My brother said he would answer it, so he got up, and as he made his way down the hallway, whoever it was knocked 3 times again. Then we heard our next door neighbor's door also being knocked on. I live in a small apartment complex on the top floor. There is only 2 apartments on each floor, each directly facing across from the other. It was a very small landing. There are only stairs and no elevators. My brother opened the door. This was as we heard the neighbor's door being knocked on too. There was no one there. Literally no one was there. Our neighbors kept to themselves and are not very sociable, which is fine, I guess. And I got up and was looking out onto the landing with my brother, but there was silence, and we checked. No one was there. We would have heard and seen them, as there wouldn't have been enough time for them to make an escape. We could hear our neighbors looking out of their peephole. I think they surely seen my confusion and my brother's confusion when we were talking about who could have knocked on our door. So I think their suspicion that we may have knocked their door was quickly gone. Plus, they never ever confronted us or asked us about it. Also, we barely see them anyway. My brother and I started to just feel really weird about the whole situation and went back inside. It was definitely not our next door neighbors who knocked on our door, as we would have heard their door opening and closing, not to mention the fact that we heard their door being knocked as we opened ours. The whole thing was just creepy and weird, and I sort of felt the same kind of fear I did that morning with the teenager. It wasn't too long ago, and I found out about black-eyed kids, and it really freaked me the hell out to think, is it possible that I could have almost encountered these things twice? I just sort of connected the dots when I heard about black-eyed kids. I don't know what the hell I experienced, but I hope I never experience it ever again. Hi everybody, it's your creepy sister here. Thank you so much for listening and watching the video. I really do hope that you enjoyed it. Anyway, if you want to send a story for me to read, or if you want to follow me on social media, my email and all the other links to my account are in the description of the video. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't yet to the channel. Once again, thanks for listening.